We often think a company's success is all about its cool products or cutting-edge tech. But what if the real secret sauce is its people? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on human resource management, specifically in India, and see how they're solving this people puzzle.
It's a great way to think about it, right? An organization really is like a giant, intricate puzzle. And sure, every piece has its place, but the people, they're the ones that give it color, depth. They're what makes the whole picture actually come to life.
So, that leads us to the big question, the one we're really digging into today. If people are so valuable, how on earth do organizations manage this incredibly complex, incredibly important asset? Well, let's get into it.
All right, here's a quick look at our game plan. We'll start with the basics. What even is human resource management? Then we'll travel back in time to see how it's evolved in India. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of hiring people. And finally, the million-dollar question. How do you keep them motivated with pay and bonuses? We'll even touch on whether workers are getting more of a say in things.
Okay, first things first. Human resource management. You hear this term thrown around all the time, right? But let's slice through the corporate jargon and figure out what it actually means.
At its core, it's really about bringing two things together, people and organizations. The goal, to make sure everybody wins. I like to think of it kind of like an orchestra conductor. You've got all these talented individuals, and HRM's job is to get them all playing in sync, creating something amazing that benefits everyone involved, the individual musician and the orchestra as a whole.
And this is what I find so fascinating. Look at what HRM is really about. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. But more importantly, it's shifted. It's not just about rules and paperwork anymore. The focus now is on getting results, It's about helping people reach their full potential and creating an environment where they actually want to give their best. It's about managing not just their physical work, but their emotional capital too. That's a huge shift.
All right, to really get a grip on HRM in India today, we've got to take a quick trip back in time, because its evolution is a really cool story of transformation, moving from a simple administrative role to a major strategic player.
And this timeline lays it out perfectly. Look at this journey. It starts in a pre-industrial era, super simple, mostly agriculture. Then, boom, the Industrial Revolution hits. Suddenly, you have factories, you have this new employer-employee thing, and you need a department to manage people. Fast forward to the post-50s, and we start seeing workers as actual resources, not just cogs in a machine. And that brings us to today, where HRM is strategic. It's about aligning people with the big-picture business goals to get a real competitive edge. What a change!
Okay, so we've seen the history. Now let's get practical. How does all this theory translate into building a great team? Let's talk about planning and hiring.
Before you can even think about hiring, you need a plan. And that's exactly what human resource planning, or HRP, is. It's basically the GPS for a company's talent. Management looks at where they are right now, decides where they want to be, and HRP maps out the route to get there. It's all about making sure you have the right people in the right jobs at exactly the right time.
So once that GPS is set, the actual process of finding people kicks off. And it's a pretty methodical process, almost like a funnel. You start by planning and figuring out what you need. Then you go out and source candidates. After that, you screen them, you interview them, you make a final selection, and finally, you get them settled in. Each step is designed to narrow down the pool until you find that perfect fit for the role.
And where do they find these people? Well, in India, companies cast a really wide net. They'll look inside the company first, promotions, transfers. But they also advertise everywhere from newspapers to online. A huge one is campus recruitment, going straight to the top colleges and universities. Then you've got government exchanges, people literally walking in, and even outsourcing to recruitment agencies. It's a real mix, which makes sense given the huge talent pool.
Okay, let's say you've done it. You've built your dream team. Now what? How do you keep them motivated and hitting their goals? This is where we get into the really interesting stuff. Incentives, bonuses, and pay.
And check out this quote from India's National Commission on Labor. It's pretty direct, isn't it? Wage incentive is the cheapest, quickest, and surest means of increasing productivity. Wow, that tells you just how central financial motivation is seen in the Indian industrial landscape. It's not just a nice-to-have, it's considered a core driver.
So how does this work in practice? Well, let's look at two classic examples you'll see in India, the Halsey and Rowan plans. The Halsey plan is pretty straightforward. Let's say you're expected to finish a job in 10 hours, but you do it in 8. You save 2 hours. You get a bonus that's a fixed percentage, say 50%, of the pay for those 2 hours you saved. Simple, right? The Rowan plan is a little more complex. Your bonus is based on the proportion of time you saved. The neat thing about this one is that it protects workers from employers trying to cut the rate for a job later, but it also kind of puts a cap on how much you can earn. Two different ways to reward the same thing: efficiency.
But, it's not always about just one person's performance. Smart companies know that teamwork is key. That's where group plans come in. Things like profit sharing are awesome. When the company does well, everyone gets a piece of the pie. It creates this we're all in it together feeling. Then you have things like the Scanlon Plan, which actually rewards teams for coming up with cost-saving ideas. It's a brilliant way to get everyone thinking like an owner.
All right, for our last section, we're going to look at something that's, well, pretty forward-thinking. The idea of putting workers in the driver's seat. We're talking about participative management.
And this isn't some new age idea, at least not in India. This concept has deep roots, going all the way back to the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956. The goal was to create a more socialist-style society within the company, where workers actually shared in some of the managerial power. Think about that. It's a fundamental shift towards a more democratic workplace.
And this isn't just theory on a piece of paper. It takes a bunch of different forms in India today. You have works committees and joint management councils for day-to-day stuff. You've got quality circles where employees work on improving processes. And in some cases, you even have workers' representatives right there on the board of management or employees owning shares in the company. It's all about giving people a real stake in the business.
So when you put all these pieces together, you start to see the bigger picture. Really effective human resource management isn't just about hiring and firing. It's the strategic key. It's about creating a culture where people feel valued, empowered, and part of something bigger. That's how you unlock an organization's full potential. So that brings us to the future. And let's be real, the workplace is changing at lightning speed. You've got technology, globalization, remote work. It's a whole new ballgame. This leaves us with a really important question to think about. What's the next step in this relationship between managers and employees in India? How will all of this continue to evolve? It's something to keep an eye on, for sure.